Aye,
Hello, hello.
Minjan.
Good, how are you?
Oh, good. Oh, good. Okay. At least this man knows a bit of his song.
Okay, yeah.
We have a brilliant entrepreneur and innovator in the building, Brendan Fernandez. Minjan Booth.
Hi, Bukil. Those are very big shoes. Mungana Minjan.
Right. We're good. We're good. We're good. We're good. We're good. We're good.
Fantastic.
We're doing good. Wait, what is that code? I want to quote you exactly. We're doing good by doing well. Is that how you phrase it? Or we're doing well by doing good?
Well by doing good.
Ah, interesting. Where does that come from?
I had it from the chairman of MasterCard in
Okay.
event in Brazil during the B20 last year. Yeah.
So you thought you could adopt it?
Yeah, it
That's
made
right.
a lot of sense. We need a lot of that kind of thinking in the world.
Is it like a social entrepreneur thing? Or is it just...
No, they were just talking about how they've transformed MasterCard to focus on really doing good and profiting, but
Yeah.
not just profiting at the expense of people.
No, for you, is it a social entrepreneur thing or is it...
It's just aligning with my values.
Cool.
Well, before we get into that, I mean, how would you describe what you do very quickly?
So we build innovative digital solutions for clients. We're not in the Me Too businesses, so we like new waters, new grounds that haven't been walked on before. So look at how we can build a digital solution to address a very important problem. Could be aimed at improving efficiencies, saving costs, so just bringing transparency in the business.
So just 1 second. What space is that in? Is that like a civic tech space, or what space are you working in really?
So we're working in waste management. We're working in maintenance in mining and manufacturing.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is Graph Intech. That is.
Correct.
Okay.
So Grand African Innovative Technologies.
Grand African Innovative Technologies.
Correct.
I was wondering what's the graph.
Nice.
But this man is so tall. He looked at a giraffe and said, I think I align with the giraffe. When did you find the company?
2018.
2018.
Yeah.
When did you land your first client?
Significant? 2023.
That's yesterday.
Mm.
First client, none,
No.
regardless
we
of the
had-
size.
No. 2020.
What did you do for them?
Tracking, vehicle tracking and accident detection and alert for a small fleet.
Interesting. Build on what kind of technologies?
So we built our own tracking device. So that's actually where it started, right?
Okay.
So in varsity, I developed an ERS tech device. So it was an accident detection and alert system.
Okay.
So we incorporated tracking on it. And then we tried to take it to market, but the competition was harsh because you already had the big trackers and all of that.
Yeah.
So yes, you had a little bit of an upper hand in terms of the technology, but they had the market. When you buy a car, you already choose from these guys, So we couldn't really compete, and then we had to find a differentiator. We tried adding things like remote engine cutoff. You can switch off your vehicle from your phone. In case of hijacking, you still find it there. Even if the keys are inside, they can't start it. But still, it wasn't that easy to penetrate the market. So we did get a few clients, but then we realized that the big gap in the market was not in the hardware space, but in what people are doing with the data that the hardware is producing. And there wasn't a lot of activity in that space. So we started to focus more on that.
So when I looked at the work that you do, it seems like there's a bit of a transitioning. You went from focusing on building the technology as the primary goal to more working on the data and sort of building an entire business off of the data that the technologies generate for you. Is that a fair analysis of what you currently do?
Yeah. So customers are not, very much interested in products. They want solutions. They've got problems. They want solutions. Sometimes it might take 4 products that come together to create a solution for a client. So we're in the business of helping customers address those solutions. So all our solutions incorporate data analytics and business intelligence reporting because for you to drive any business, you've got to give them the best information when they need it so that they can make informed decisions. Because at the end of the day, it's their decision whether they take your advice or not. So all our solutions incorporate the BI aspect.
So a little bit about yourself. Did you, when you got started, did you have other guys people that you worked with? I mean, did you do all the development yourself? I mean, was there people did you have mentors? How did you kind of find your way in the space? Because it's not a small space. There's quite a lot of different aspects to actually develop the products you were developing.
Yeah. So when I started, I was alone, and I thought I'll be very successful in 6 months.
We all did.
So we did.
So little did I know,
Yeah.
you know. And then obviously with time you then learn, okay, you need other people with certain expertise. So the first part where we built a product, I did that by myself, but then, you know, I realized when we're moving towards the data side.
What year are you talking about there?
So that's between 2018 and 2020. So
Okay.
the first 2 years of inception. And then 2020, that's when I incorporated or brought in other guys that were doing data analytics, BI reporting, even software development to try and build this product suites or solutions that customers are looking for.
What did you promise them?Id you pay them, or did you say, okay, we're going to build this, let's do the work and see, how did that relationship work?
Yeah, so they were quite senior guys.
It's kind of like, it's how Stanley got me involved. He hassled me into this. This is why I'm here. And then I'm still waiting for my payback. But
Oh, that I did.
Oh, brother, man.
Oh, that I did.
So,
That I did.
when we started, I actually, because they were quite senior and experienced in what they were doing, we offered them shares in the business.
Okay.
So they were shareholders, minority shareholders in the business. And that could buy us some time.
Yeah.
Until I think for about 2 years or so we worked together, and then that didn't work out so well. Because of their other engagements, they were not so available for the business, right? Because you're going to take someone who's CTO at a bank.
Yeesh.
Yes, they'll do some work for you, but you might have a presentation to one corporate and then they're not available, and it took you 6 months to get that meeting, and it's just not going to work out.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
oh, you need your notes. I mean, let me continue so long.
Yeah, go ahead, man. Leave me alone.
No, but I mean, like, I think that's something that a lot of guys struggle with when they're starting up businesses. They're like, okay, they've got a certain ideas for myself. Even in my own experience, there's certain things I can do. I know I can do well, but as soon as you're taking on the scope of trying to build a business, you're doing there's all kinds of other things that, you have to kind of learn how to do it, or you like somehow have to convince others to get involved while you don't have the funds to pay them in some sort of way. Like, there's a balancing act there. And I think your particular approach to that was you gave them shares in a business. But I suppose initially your vision had to be strong enough that you can convince other people that there is actually a market here. And again, there's a whole chunk of work there that needs to get done.
Yeah. No, it's a very delicate balance that you need to strike, because talent is expensive, right?
Yeah.
And for most small businesses, you can't afford it. So either you're going to bring them in as consultants, but you probably want to have a project against that so that you know how you're going to pay those
can
people,
pay them.
or you give them shares. It's a bit risky. And again, if they're not aligned with the vision, they might not jump on the ship, right? So yeah, I think that's where you learn how to fly a plane on an empty tank. To get out.
There's always like a bit of luck involved. Like
Yeah.
the right person kind of comes at the right time, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of that. Yeah.
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 Nice. And from there, how did you scale? How were you able to get to the point where you are comfortable in building graphene tech and expanding and growing your customer base?
Yeah. So at first, because the initial focus was building a specific product, and refining the product, because you think, I need a new feature to
Yeah.
be competitive, all these things that
And
you
that's
read
the
online.
tracking
Yeah, that's
product.
the tracking unit, right?
Okay.
So we leveraged cheap money, so government grants,
Cool.
right, that support innovation. I think we got a lot of support from the Technology Innovation Agency.
Cool.
Kudos to you guys, Tia.
Amen.
Nice.
Yeah, I think they were quite involved in our journey, because not only did they give us the funding that we needed to develop a product, but they also gave us small stipends. Right? So now, I graduate from UCT in 2018, and then I decided to jump into business without working, right? So now it's difficult. You're building,
Yeah.
you're not making any money, and you still got to survive. Rent doesn't care. It needs
Yeah.
to be paid. Food
Yeah.
needs to be bought. And then now here's a government agency that says, look, if you've got something innovative, come pitch to us, we'll support you, and then give you a stipend just to get along. I think the program was the Grassroots Innovation Program.
Okay.
And it gave us, funding as we achieved milestones. And I think that really helped us stabilize a bit. And you didn't have to worry about your stomach growling, while you work. So, which is quite important.
Why did I see you at the coffee shop so often? Why didn't you come in? You were always working from the coffee shop, and this man had a stipend.
I like the coffee.
Okay.
Are you talking about at the Tsamokholong precinct?
Yeah.
Okay.
He always camped outside. I was like, this man looks like he needs help. I was like, come and work at my desk. Can't he has the funding and I don't even have. How much runway was that tier fund or grant fund and stipend for? How much runway did it give you?
I think 12 months.
12 months.
Yeah.
What did you achieve in that 12 months?
A product, digital presence. We also built a website to sell and advertise through. And just a bit of credibility. When you put your, a government logo next to your product, it also looks, and people start trusting you, what you're saying a bit more than when you're just by yourself.
Cool.
Or just a small company that's not known by anybody. So, yeah, I think it got us something. How I think about growth, it's like walking upstairs. You just go to the first one, and then it gets you closer to the second one,
Right.
and then that one gets you closer to the third one. So there's not really losses in life. It's just lessons to build on, So, yeah, I'm very open to failing, by the way. So I think that also helped me, that kind of attitude.
And how much, when you look back, how much or how many times did you fail in your product iterations to ultimately get to where you are and comfortably saying we build off of the data and primarily we're a data-first company?
So that was... I spoke about the first 2 years before we even involved data. That's
Right.
a lot of failing and experimentation in between. And then after that, even though we figured that people are interested in data, now what product do you build that people want?
Right.
2020, we built a COVID tracking system, right? Very innovative. Within the first 3 weeks of that first lockdown, we had a product that was, you could use your phone to track, so our phones are sending signals to each other just by us being next to each other.
Yeah.
So you could, if someone tests positive, you could trace all the other phones they came into contact with. So this is people that you don't even know about.
Right.
But you could be in a taxi with them or in a mall with them, and those are possible contacts, right? And then, at the time, that closed out all the borders, and it was like a closed system as a country, and you could trace it. Yes, people would lose lives, but you'd also be able to contain the virus without it going
How
out.
did you know someone was positive? Would they have to indicate?
No, they would have to be tested.
No, but how does the phone know that you, as the owner of the phone, is positive and then track it from
Yeah,
there?
so the phone doesn't know. So
Yeah.
on the app, what it does is
I
someone
see,
gets
I got
sick.
you, I
I've
got
got
you.
symptoms, I go to hospital, and then they take that and
The tracking
trace,
part
yeah.
of it.
So we did engage high-level government officials. By the way, we up to the levels of ministers and premiers and whatnot. And
nice.
we had opportunities to pilot, but it just didn't work out. Yeah, they opted for that WhatsApp app where you can get your
I remember
results on
that.
WhatsApp and text them the numbers of the people you think you came into contact
I
with.
remember that app.
Yeah. No, I remember.
Far less effective than your solution, I would
Yes,
say.
we did demos and everything, and I had people from government admitting they're like, this is a way better solution that we have, but we'll go with what we have. And
Wait, what?
Because someone paid someone.
yeah, there was a contract, 200 million, good money. So obviously you're a startup, right? You could be having the technology, but the relationships always matter, right? You don't have the relationships at the right places, clearly.
We went for WhatsApp instead of this.
Yeah.
See, this is where Stan and I differ. He's far more innocent soul. Like, I understand the way the world works a little bit more. Stan actually is always surprised when things happen this way. Like, the best solution isn't the one that wins,
Yeah.
Then why build the best solution in the damn place?
Yeah, it was quite heartbreaking because we were like Stan, right? No jokes.
You gotta be a Stan, I'm telling you.
We got a product out in 3 weeks after the first lockdown. We didn't even know what COVID was. We
Yeah.
sat around, we're like, guys, we gotta fix this. We gotta solve this.
Right.
Let's use our brains. This is about data.
I'm telling you.
Yeah. But yeah.
And you came up with a brilliant solution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many people were you in contact with? We can check from phone signals. clearly now we can track everybody else, and from their phones we can track everybody they've been in contact with, and it just
Yeah. My brother, we wanted to pilot in KZN, so we even had the pleasure of meeting the king, the late king, God will Zulwetini. He was
Goodness
a lovely
me.
man. I had a 4-course meal with the king. It was
Nice.
amazing. Right, but, and he
no
did
selfie?
introduce us to people, but they just didn't take it forward. So,
But that doesn't sound like a failure. It just sounds like the product didn't fail. It's whatever red tapes were there just did not let the product win.
Exactly.
So this is not good. So great products fail not because they're not innovative enough, not because they lack funding, but just because somebody decides we will use a useless product instead of this great product.
basically.
So, so I want to use that example to just spread a little bit further into your activity in the civic tech space. I mean, this example, I'm sure, runs rife across numerous other sectors as well. But I don't know if you're familiar, but we did, a couple of months ago, we did quite a nice series with on civic tech. We did like a 5-part series. And it's always interesting talking about people in the way they you know, most of them were academics and that sort of space, but they're still thinking quite deeply about policy. How do we change the digital landscape? How do we find solutions that can be applied within you know, society, whatever scale you're talking about? So maybe tell us very quickly like how you're particularly interested in that space, or how your work applies itself to the civic tech space, and how would you define civic tech in your context?
So it's work that is impact driven, right? So you've got to think about society, because at the end of the day, we are all human beings, right? We want to make life better, basically, for everybody around us. So for me, it's a very important space, but I don't think it's getting enough attention as it should, because those are things that affect our, you know, day-to-day livelihoods, right? And yeah, so you still need a lot of support for the technology in that space, and I'm not seeing a lot of it as yet.
Okay.
But it's good that the conversations are being had, and you know, it's going out there. But we need more of that, because innovators are innovators. You know, they're like water. I'm gonna quote Bruce Lee here. You know, you put them in any problem scenario and say solve it, they'll come up with something. But would they be a platform for them to land on? Is there gonna be funds to accelerate what they're doing? That remains a question mark, especially in our context, right? So I think it's not really to say that there's no talent or there's no innovation or brilliant minds. There's a lot of that, right? Even in villages, places where people don't even go and look for talent, it's there, but it's not supported, it's not nurtured, and then nothing comes out, and then we say, well, nothing is coming out. Yeah, of course, nothing is coming out. You don't water the plant, you can expect the fruits, you know?
Are you saying there are not enough competitions for one to take part in so much so they can win awards and maybe have a runway of maybe 2 years off of the prizes they win from the tech competitions? I know you participated in quite a few.
It's there, but people are not having access to it. They don't even know they exist. You know, you go to, I once went to Soweto just here, you know, and there was this youth sort of conference, and you know, the mayor is there, and you know, invite the youth and whatnot. We had a exhibition stand there, and people don't even know how to register a business. Yeah, you know, and they're asking like, I've got an idea, I want to register a business, where do I go? And then you think, wait, if someone is still struggling to know there's something called, let's say, CIPC website, you can go to an internet cafe, you can register a business, open a bank account and all of that. Are you really saying this person is going to participate in the SA Innovation Tech Challenge for the G20 meeting coming up? It's a bit far-fetched.
That's true. That's true. How much role, or how important was it for you guys to compete in tech competitions? And how much did those contribute to your sustainability as a business?
Very important. I think that was like the most important thing that we participated in, right? We participated in a few. By the way, I mean, even TIA and all of these organizations, it's not like the first time you go in. I mean, the first time they rejected us, they're like, hey, go. Your idea is not novel. I'm like, what? I have to Google, what does novel mean? You know?
And go make it novel.
Yeah, but for me, I think what I love about government opportunities is that if they tell you that we're not taking this, those should give you reasons why. And if you should fix them, you have another opportunity to come back for as long as you're still a citizen and say, well, I've fixed these things. Can I now go in, right? So we went into tier on the second round. So the second year, right? And then we got into our program. And then, like I said, that gave us our first sort of ground to land our feet on. But the most important ones, and then we had some few competitions here and there. Some had money attached to them, some didn't. But the most important one was so in 2021, we participated in the City of Joburg Smart City Innovation Challenge.
Remember that one?
Yeah, and we got declined in the top 6.
Oh.
Yeah, right. So 2022, when it came out again, I'm like, okay, let's do this again, but a different product. So
right.
Went in with a different product, and then we went through the rounds, and then we finally made it into so they chose 4 winners of the innovation challenge, right? So it was really a call for entrepreneurs, small businesses, even academia, to come up with solutions that could help improve either safety or efficiency, save costs for government, but it had to be government focused, right? And then they gave us 2 things which were quite important. One was an opportunity to pilot with the city department or entity of your choice. Right?
Okay.
So you choose where you think your solution will apply. And then even so when you choose, it's at application stages, right? So when you do the interviews and interviews, they bring in the relevant people from the department to actually vet what you're saying, if there's any value, and then that's how they select. And then once you got selected, they gave us a piloting grant of 500,000 rands, which was good. So it was basically saying to the city, look, we can offer you free services, right? You just tell us what you need or, where we can assist. And then that's how we started with Pick It Up. And that was, I think an incredible thing for us.
One thing interesting about your journey is, as much as we say a lot of bad things about our government, and how there is a lack of this, a lack of that from government specifically. I could be wrong, but following your story, it seems like you came up under a lot of government programs and ultimately landed government as one of your clients, which is, I think, a very unique story in tech in South Africa, to say you can actually get funded and supported by the government from early grassroots and end up having government as one of your most paying or one of your good clients even. Is that a fair sort of view of your journey? Have you had rather most of your support from government, and would you say now comfortably some of your best clients would be government?
Yeah, so I would say we got a lot of support from government. And it was quite important for us. But it's difficult to get that support. So it's not like, it's easy to get it. You need someone who's going to be relentless. You're going to get so many no's. But there are people in government, quite frankly, who actually are doing the right thing. They support innovation. They create programs like the one I just mentioned now.
The Smart City Challenge.
Yeah, the Smart City Innovation Challenge. I mean, it's got other businesses also piloting with other departments, which once you've proven a concept, you are most likely to get a contract. So with us, the other thing is, we're building custom solutions, as I mentioned. Now, you want to sell something to someone, and they don't know for sure this thing would work or has worked somewhere.
Yeah.
And when you speak to customers, almost the first question is, where have you done this before? And your answer is, I haven't done it. I want you to be the first client. And then they're like, but I'm not risking my money. So when you've got a program that says, well, look, you don't have to risk your money. I'll bring the money and I'll bring the tech. You just give me a piloting environment and let me show you what I can do. Right. It becomes an easy sell. And once you show them what you can do, like in our case, we did a pilot in data analytics and custom BI reporting for various city departments. Various departments within Pick It Up, right? And they loved our work. And it's like one of those things, you can't unsee it once you see it, and you can't act like, I can't make better decisions if I have this tool.
Right.
So that was an encouraging thing for us and it also, the nice thing about data is when you go to do any data reporting project, they give you the data, right? So you've got to learn the data, you've got to understand it, you've got to consult with them. Then you get to understand their business in and out. And it gave us an opportunity to identify even, other areas that needed improvement that we could recommend and say, hey guys, if you like this, you know what, we could also assist you there, and there. And I think that's really a very good thing for us.
Interesting. Is that what product is at Pick It Up? Is it one scale?
Yeah. So it's a custom weighbridge software that we've built for them, right?
Okay.
So what we figured was when we were collecting the data for their landfills. Let me take a step back a bit and give the audience a bit of context.
Yeah, I wanted to dive into the question a bit. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. So the everybody can go dump at a landfill. So a
Sure.
landfill is basically an area dedicated for dumping
For
any
dumping.
kind of waste, right? But you must have an account with the city, same way you've got an account for electricity
Cool.
or waste collection, right? And then when you open an account, you're allowed to come and dump. But depending on what you dump, you pay. So let's say you demolish a building, right? You're a construction company, Stanley Constructions, demolishes an old mall. Where do you take the rubble? Throw it in the streets, illegal dumping. You get fined, you get arrested.
Right.
So you have to take it to a landfill, right? Now, at these landfills, you, depending on the waste category, whether you bring rubble, you're bringing garden waste, there's a
Right.
tariff for it. So it could be 50 cents per kg, 70 cents per kg, 30 cents per kg. It really depends on what it is. Some things are even free, like soil that is helping cover the landfills, like even recyclable material, it's free, right? So that's basically the context.
Sorry, just take you back a bit. Who creates the landfill? Is it government or the guy disposing the waste?
So it's government landfills. So
Okay.
these are city-owned landfills, but managed and operated by Pick It Up, which is still
Okay.
government and
Okay.
fully owned entity of the city of Joburg, right?
Cool.
As an example. So now, what happens is at the landfill, now you've got to measure how much waste anybody is bringing, so
Cool.
for you to be able to bill them accurately, right? And then they've come up with these intelligent systems called weigh bridges, right? So it's a bridge, it's like a scale. So you've got an entry gate and an exit gate, right? Someone drives in on a truck, they stand on the bridge at entry. There's a little indicator that writes your truck, loaded truck, weighs 30,000 kilograms for argument's sake. You go in, you go tip, which dispose the waste. Then you come out, then you go over the exit bridge. Then you weigh again. It says you weigh 10,000 kilograms. This
Cool.
is your empty truck. Now, what government must then do is to say, okay, weighted entry or
Weighted
mass at
exit.
entry minus mass at exit should give you the mass of the actual waste that was disposed,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
20,000 kilograms. Okay. Now, for argument's sake, we're going to create a false tariff, 1 rand per kilogram,
Sure.
right? So now that means 20,000 multiplied by 1 rand, 20,000 kilograms by 1 rand gives you 20,000 rand. And then the bill for that client is 20,000 rand.
Cool.
Simple maths, right? However, because of these transactions were being recorded manually, right? People write receipts. So,
Like a book.
like a book.
Zeros go missing.
Yeah,
I'm telling you.
right. Whatever the incentive is, I don't know. I can't speak for them. But let's just say customers end up not being billed accurately as they should, right? And the
20,000
problem with
tends to
this is
200.
that government loses a lot of money on revenue they could generate, right? I'm talking rands of millions of rands every month, right? Yeah, annually probably to the hundreds, right? So it's the thing is, it's money nobody's looking for,
Oh.
right? Because all the receipts will tally with all the money received, right?
So there's no telling if you're making a loss or profit.
Yeah,
Money came in, the receipts are here, you're good.
Yeah. So auditors come, we're good. But so then we help them develop a system, right?
Okay.
To automate transaction recording at weight bridges. So
Okay.
from the manual system that I explained, we then put up a new system that uses access cards. So at entry, you come with an access card. That access card has got your company name and your account number, which is the city's account number.
Okay.
And the vehicle registration locked on that card. So when you come in, we already know who you are. So you take your card at entry, we know who you are, and then we've integrated the software with the scale itself, and then it measures onto the system. So nobody's capturing any numbers. So
Okay.
it's what it is. For as long as that bridge is calibrated to be reading accurately, let's say for a period of 12 months, you are getting the right reading, which is they call it the gross mass at entry. And then we also put license plate recognition cameras that pick up your plate again to verify it matches with the card.
With the card.
And then we also take a picture of the vehicle, transaction evidence, because customers dispute this transaction sometimes. And then once we've captured all that information on the software, the only thing that is manual, somebody has to select a waste category. But even then, it's a drop-down list. So we've put cameras, aerial view cameras that look at the load at the back. And then you can see it's garden waste or is it rubble, and then you click. And the reason for that is if we had automated that, which we had the option to do with AI, you wouldn't need people working at weigh bridges. And that would eliminate at least 2 people per site, which is not good at all. As far as preserving jobs is concerned, right? So then you select a category and then you print a receipt at entry, and then traffic light goes green, boom, gate opens, which is all the infrastructure that we put in place, and then the truck goes in, tips, and then it comes out, same process again. You tag your card. Now we know you're completing a transaction because the truck went in, it hasn't gone out. We pick up your number plate, we take a picture, we pick up the scale, which is the weighted exit, unloaded truck, and then we, do the simple maths, entry minus exit, what is your net weight, what is the tariff based on the category that was selected, and then we print a final invoice, which is the receipt that you get for the transaction. And then at the end of the month, they can pull up what they call a billing file. So, one truck would come back 5 times in a day, and it's, let's say, continuously. But then you want to give a client a full bill at the end to say you owe us 200,000 for argument's sake for all the transactions you've done. And at any landfills, not just one landfill, so you could dump at any landfill.
So it's integrated within all the landfills.
So it sounds like a beautiful solution. My question for you is, why did you think it was a problem to begin with? Were you just hanging around dump sites and thought, what's the connection there? There must be a story behind why you chose that as a problem.
What do you take him for? Do you think he hangs
No,
around
that's why I'm asking. Why
So
is
it's
that?
too clean to
Why
hang
is this
around
problem? Why
desperate.
was that problem in your mind?
It's a good question. So it came up because when we were building the dashboards, right? Remember we went in and we said, guys, we've got a voucher, 500,000. Tell us what you need, right? So we've built dashboards for fleet, we've built dashboards for operations and landfills, right? Now for landfills, their data was not very good. It was very, very bad. Right, so now we had to go to the landfills, the dump sites, to say, but why is the data bad? So you find, it's a transaction, you've got a weight recorded, but there's no number plate. Or there's a number plate, there's no company name. Or the number plate is not complete. It's just, CF12 and then left like that. Because these are things that people are writing.
People write it, yeah.
Right? Or you find a number plate, but when you search it on the system, it's not there. You can't trace it to who it is. So you've got a lot of transactions going on. Receipts recorded, but you don't know who to bill. So you're not able to bill because of either incomplete information or just errors in the data, or you've got just bad stuff. You've got Stanley Construction, Stanley, and it appears as if it's 3 different companies, but when you check the account numbers, it comes back to the same account number and all of that.
Spreadsheet hell, in other words.
Yeah. Basically. So there was a lot of bad data. So the idea was, can we help you with a system to help you collect good information for you to be able to bill accurately? Because landfills, by the way, are one of the biggest, if not the biggest, department within Pick It Up that actually generates income.
For Pick It Up?
For Pick It Up.
Oh.
Because the rest is taking money out. You need to pay people for street cleaning, you need to pay people for refuse collection, the trucks, you need to pay for maintenance, and. Whereas landfills, you are charging even private companies.
Private companies are coming
to bring in waste, and then you charge them. But then if you're not billing there, you've got a problem.
Which is why we have all these Pick It Up strikes, I would imagine.
I can't speak for that.
Yes, they are your client. You can. I can.
All right.
So it sounds like, as part of the competition you took part in, the Smart City Challenge, because you had a category that you picked from there, they sort of guided you to this problem.
It was a collaborative effort, right?
Okay.
So we picked Pick It Up just because, we just Pick It Up. I mean, we could have chosen City Power, we could have chosen any department. Because remember, you had the choice.
You had the choice, yes.
But we actually went in with a fleet solution. Wanted to do, because we had a lot of work in fleet tracking.
Yes.
So now we had even added things like fuel tracking, you know. So that was what we wanted to do. And then when we got in, we actually scoped, it was 2 solutions at first. One for fleet and then the other one for waste management, which is the weighbridge system. And then it just happens that that one for landfills was more of an agent project than the one for fleet. Like I mentioned, fleet is not generating much revenue compared to the landfills. So if you're not billing, you know, you're not making money. I mean, this guys bill a lot of money, or should bill a lot of money if everything is working. Yeah,
because I mean, they have private companies coming to dump.
Man, you're looking at one side could get 800 trucks a day.
800 trucks a day.
Yeah.
Shoo.
Yeah,
it's a lot of billing.
It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. I don't think I'm at liberty to say the numbers here, but it's scary numbers.
So how do you get paid? Do you get a percentage of that?
I wish. So that's the other thing, right?
Hey,
man. You know,
imagine 40%.
I wish we had the confidence at first to go to them and be like, "Hey guys,
we solved this problem. You give us a percentage.
You give us
of
a
every
percentage
transaction.
share." That would have been something right there.
So they just give you like a contractual rate.
Yeah, we just got a contract, a fixed contract, 12 months, to build the system and deploy it. It included both hardware and software. The hardware was the access card, cameras I was speaking about, and boom gates and the likes, and then the software is the software system that we've built, right? So, but I must say, you know, the biggest challenge that we faced in this implementation is change management. So people were accustomed to doing things a certain way for a long time. Now, I'm not saying they are. If there were people generating some side money from the manual process,
of course they were.
Probably preferred continuing with it, right? If
I
they
could,
were such.
Instead of a 20,000, I'll put 200.
I don't think you're wrong.
You are not wrong, my friend.
But you didn't say that. Yeah.
You are wrong.
All right, yeah.
Pick it up. He's wrong.
So now, you know, and then now you introduce this fully automated system, and people feel like, but we don't want this thing, you know. So it was very difficult for us because we could go to site and sometimes they switch off power, and they're like, yeah, it's not working, you know. So you can't work. I mean, we even had to buy our own generator so that when we go to site, we provide our own power, and people, you know, vandalize equipment, you know, cut network cables, and then the problem is, so we are bringing a solution, but it also depends on the infrastructure that is there. Network is the infrastructure. So if someone cuts a network cable, fiber line or whatever, it's gonna go back to the department's own procurement processes to get a service provider if they don't have one, or call their service provider, come and fix. We're gonna delay that whole implementation. Right? It might take you 2 months to get something fixed. Right?
And if you're getting 800 trucks a day,
yeah, then it's gonna the default is manual, so that's fine. It's not a problem.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
That's the whole point. So I think, that part was not managed too well from the beginning. I don't know if there was any incentive schemes that could have been created just to compensate people or to allow them to adopt it. I don't know.
So if you lost your income from corruption, let us compensate you in some way.
I'm telling you, it works.
Because you've been making that income for 5 years. It's part of your net, according to you.
Sheesh. So how do you scale your business then? You have a 12 months contract with Pick It Up. This is a way bridge. Government possibly owns all the landfills in the country.
There are private ones.
There are private ones. So you can still scale the product with private landfills.
Yeah.
What are they currently using in private?
So the product is not for landfills per se, right?
Okay.
Although that was our lending client, it is a weighbridge management system.
Okay.
So anywhere where there's a weighbridge, it could be a farm. You want to monitor what produce you're taking out.
Right.
Or it's a power station. I mean, Eskom loses a lot of money, according to the former CEO, from trucks that come in and then they, get a delivery note signed, they make a U-turn, go back, come back in, same truck, same load, do that 15 times, get paid 15 loads, but it's just one load.
Oh.
I mean, how are you going to monitor if there was a change in the big stockpiles, if you really think about it? So if you had an automated system like this one there, that means, by the way, that could actually, because the commodity is just one, it's coal, right? You don't even need a weighbridge operator.
Right.
You go in there, you scan your card, we verify your identity, we measure the weight directly from the bridge, we open, you go in, you tip, you come back. If you come back with the full load, we're not opening that gate. You understand? Because, well, why is gross and tar weight the same?
The same.
The same.
Yeah.
You know,
The truck can come in the same weight and leave
even
it
if
the
it
same.
does,
Yeah.
we'll print out a receipt and it says your bill is 0. So you're not getting paid.
Right. Right.
Because you
Nice.
came in at the same weight, you went out at the same weight.
Right. Either you came in empty or you came in full, came out full.
That's your choice, right? So, but the realistic one would be you come in full and then
Right.
you go out
You go-
empty, and then you dropped off, let's say, 34 ton of coal, and then you get. So it would be a reverse now, because now it would be Eskom getting billed by suppliers instead of like the city billing clients that are bringing in the product. But it's the same system.
Same system.
Right.
Same
So
system.
anywhere where there are way bridges, the system could be applied. So the opportunity to scale is quite massive, looking at mining, transport and logistics, even agriculture, because we don't have a lot of way bridge systems in the country. And by the way, the previous, I think, service providers we actually convinced government that they were the only ones that could do this stuff. There was no local talent and capabilities that could do until we disprove the myth, and that's what they used to get contracts renewed over and over and over again. And then we're like, no, it's actually, you can actually build this thing. It's not that complex, because like I said in the beginning, talent is there,
Yeah.
right? It's just they're not afforded the opportunity they need. And then it looks like there's no innovation coming out, but no, it's just we don't have the right supporting environment for this kind of innovation.
Got you. Nice. Very nice. Very clean solution system. Like I understood every step of it, like how it plugged in. Very good.
This is the kind of solutions you want.
Yeah, I like this kind of stuff.
Is this smart city stuff?
Yeah, well, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, you could follow it. It's a broad umbrella, that one, but
Yeah.
yeah.
No, what part of his arguments for smart cities was, it's one thing to build the technology; it's quite the other for the city to have the capability to run the technology. But in this instance, it sounds like this is something that easily integrates with whatever smart city plan any city could have, making it part of, creating the way bridges, and I'm sure you could apply this in a number of sectors, like you just said, just creating that entire ecosystem and just completing that cycle for smart city.
I mean, it also touches on a lot of societal issues, right? So if you look at it now, I spoke about billing, right, which is the city making money, but I want us to look at other angles of the solution, right? So now you're managing access control to the landfills. So no one can go dump medical waste at a landfill, where you've got a lot of environmental angels, it's also called waste pickers.
Environmental?
That's what I chose to call them.
Oh.
Right. Because, by the way, these people that you see in the streets with the big bags,
Yeah,
recycling stuff, those guys recycle 90% of our plastic with zero.
90%?
Yes, of our plastic as a country.
90%?
Yes.
How much are they earning?
Well, they're getting the short end of the stick, I can tell you that.
Absolutely. They're not
So
earning
they
a lot-
sell
not
the stuff
earning
to
enough.
what they call buyback centers, which screw them over and then take the whatever recyclables and sell to the bigger recycling
This
companies.
is why you see sometimes, especially in town, you see guys, not so much with the plastic, but with cardboard, for example, they'll soak the cardboard in water. So when they go back to the
so it's
weight,
heavier.
So it's heavivier. So they get
Yeah.
something a little more out of the whole system,
You can go today and then they tell you bring cardboard, let's say it's 5 rand per kg, you come tomorrow, I'm like, I can only pay you 3 rand. What are you going to do? You've
Exactly.
collected?
Yeah, it's a bad system.
It's a very bad system, and I think that's one sector that really needs attention, because they're doing a lot of amazing work.
Is that who you call waste angels?
Environmental angels.
Environmental angels.
Yes. So
Guys, from now on, you have a new term for guys that carry the bags. And in
It's more
Alex,
elegant than pushers and pullers.
they call them Harley Davidson drivers.
All right.
yeah,
I mean, that's worse.
yeah.
I like the
So I mean,
environmental.
they are quite important.
yeah.
They are very important in our country, and they're not getting any support. You should go to these landfills and see what happens there. A truck comes and it's tipping, right? So you've got this, they call them RCRs, so the refuse collection round trucks, right? So the ones that come to your household, you put your bins outside, and then you they collect the stuff, and then you are not worried because the bins are now empty again. You can fill in. So they take that stuff to the landfills. When they get there, when the truck is tipping, you've got people fighting to get access to that while it's still
To the
tipping.
rubble.
Yes, because that's where the good stuff is.
Oh.
Right? And now, all of these things are happening at once. People, the colors, you don't see. The guy is tipping. The guy is not, he's tipping. You know what I mean?
And we're out there.
People die at landfill.
Goodness me.
No jokes. People get squashed by compactors and trucks, the yellow plant equipment. It's a reality, right? And those people are recycling waste that all of these big corporates, at the end of the year, they tick the boxes with government and say we are compliant, we're doing enough recycling support, but people are picking up waste with their bare hands. No PPE, no shoes, no training on what type of waste to handle, like nothing. Not even like wearable devices that you could say, maybe the truck would detect or, it would alert you if someone is close. Like there's nothing there, right? And then you've got all of these things happening, and then they are still responsible for doing most of our recycling efforts that we're very proud of as a country. I think there's something wrong there.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah.
Right. So now when you put in a system like this, you firstly manage, just to get back to the point, you manage access control, right? So not anybody can just come in and dump, right?
Yeah.
It's approved, right? You know what they're bringing, right? So they can't, again, like I gave an extreme example of
medical
medical
stuff.
waste, right?
Yeah.
Because if someone was to dump and it's not monitored, you don't even know who came in,
Could dump
could dump
chemicals
anything. And then now, the very same people that society might look down upon on the streets, well, guess what? Your kid goes to the same school with their kid. So if they're sick, your kid is sick, you are sick, everybody's sick, right? So we go to the same shops with them.
Yep.
So it's not like they are a different part of society. They are society. They are us, right? So if you manage site access control, then you can at least, to some degree, help in making sure that their health and safety is protected, right? And then the other thing is, without accurately monitoring the amount of waste that goes into the landfills, how do you know your utilization of the landfills? How do you start planning again as a smart city or as a normal city of when you would need another landfill? What is your landfill?
What data are you working off
utilization
of?
space? What are you working on, right?
Yeah.
And also, how do you measure now, coming back to climate change, how do you measure your impact? Right? Because now all of those things are going to create your methanes and all of these greenhouse gases. You can't measure anything. But here you are, we're going to set targets, and we're going to say, we're getting closer, but we're not doing
You're not
the
measuring
groundwork.
anything. Yeah.
You see. So it's got a lot of impact to society as well. Looking at health, looking at safety, as well as looking at the climate change. And again, accurately reporting our recycling efforts, right? We're not going to talk about a circular economy if we're not doing any recycling,
Right.
right? And we're not doing much of it. And the people that are doing much of it are not being helped that much. They're not documented. There's no register for them somewhere.
They're exposing their lives out there. Everything is at
Yeah.
risk, and they earn peanuts. That's borderline criminal.
I'd say it's different.
It's also home.
Yeah.
Well, man, I sure do appreciate your efforts in that regard, particularly in terms of measurements, in terms of the solutions you're building, with a good heart too.
Thank you.
He says you do good. I keep messing this up. You do well by doing good.
Yeah.
How hard was it, or how hard still is, to work with government?
Yeah. It's
Normally, when you have a private client, the contract outlines what needs to be done. You bill at the end of your billing term, and it becomes probably a smooth transaction. The sales cycle might be 2 years to get them to agree to what you need, but once that's over the line, the relationship normally is a bit smoother. How was your experience working with Pick It Up and contracting and those kind of things?
Yeah, so it's difficult, right? Especially during the implementation of a project, right? Let's start here with contracting, right? So we were fortunate to be given to win this City of Joburg Smart City Innovation Challenge, right? Because that gave us a door. If it wasn't for that, trust me, we wouldn't be working with
Right, that
government
was
at
your
all.
in.
That was our in, right? So first of all, I think for many small businesses, this kind of platforms should be created, It included an opportunity to pilot and a budget to pilot. So that reduces barriers to entry. And once you've proven your worth and people can see what you're doing, you could likely scale that within whatever sphere of government you're working within, right? And then now you get to the actual work, right? You've got a lot of government employees that are motivated and wanting to do the right thing, but you also have a lot of others that are not motivated and that don't want to do the right thing, and that makes things very difficult. You need some support, and then it takes a month to get it. It's gonna delay your timelines, right? So it is way much more complex than we thought it would be at the beginning. In terms of just the support and collaboration. Like I said, they are very driven individuals, but they're also very, not so driven individuals. And you've got a combination of it, and you've got to find a way to work with them. Then comes deliverables and payments, right? Do your job, submit invoices, and then you wait. And wait. And wait.
Shoo.
All right? So, yeah.
The wait must be killing, man. I mean,
you have no idea.
Is it like what they say with tenders? You wait and wait and wait and then...
It threatens the very existence of your business. By the way, when they're not paying you, they expect the work to continue.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Of course.
You've got
But you didn't pay me. How do you
you've got a
expect
project plan.
Yeah,
You've
you
got
have to
timelines.
pay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you still have a project
Like you
plan.
definitely won't get
timeline.
paid if you don't continue the work.
Yeah.
Put it that way.
But I'm still not getting paid.
Well,
You will
but
eventually.
have to work.
Ish.
But you're
So-
confident you do get paid. You will eventually get
Eventually,
yeah,
you will get paid. It's just, it affects, especially as a small business, it
Yeah, of course.
Then what do you
crazily
get-
affects your cash flow like you have no idea.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Right,
but
and
you
it-
can take that contract to the bank and they can give you money.
No, zero.
Oh, ugh, okay. Then how do you survive?
You learn how to fly a plane on an empty tank. You have to, so for example, government for us is a very important client, but and it was our anchor client, as I mentioned, but we're doing a lot of work in mining. At least the payments come more frequent
Okay.
than in government. So it's more like, you get money this side to balance this side until they eventually pay. So they do eventually pay. They just delay payments, right? And you try explaining, hey, we're a small business, hey, this, hey, that. Like, trust me, it's not going to help you. Just wait.
You're just
hope.
crying at that point.
Yeah, no, I've
Okay.
had not even with pick it up with other entities. I had to wait for an invoice to be paid. It took 1 year, 6 months.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
1 year, 6 months.
Yeah, and you know what was the worst thing about it is that every week we kept getting told it's coming next week
For it,
for a year and a half.
what kind of patience do you got?
The one that an entrepreneur needs.
Amen. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, that's a
La-
delightful
last.
note.
Hey, man. Wait.
Okay.
What are you doing in the mining?
So in mining we do condition monitoring.
Condition.
Yeah, condition monitoring. So basically health checks.
Okay.
So again, we put sensors to pick up the condition of equipment, and then we give them insights to proactively maintain the equipment.
Okay.
Right. So, for example, we put in vibration sensors,
Okay.
right, on specific, very expensive components of a machine. So you've got a machine like we're doing. It's really one of the first to be done in the world.
Oh.
In underground operations, where you've got a continuous miner in a coal mine.
Okay.
And then we install these vibration sensors on, the attraction planetary and
Yeah.
cutter gear case. So continuous miner is that big machine that mines on the coal face, right? That literally cuts the coal. So that machine costs a lot of money. The machine alone could cost you between, depending on the OEM, obviously, 50 million to 120 million.
Wait, what?
Yes, the
Oh.
machine. So now, obviously, its components are also very costly.
Right.
Right. So now, waiting for things to break and then you react is very costly. Not just only on the maintenance leg, as in the component itself, but the downtime you'll experience. Because remember, these big mines already have got like big SLAs with clients, and they literally just have to meet target. It's not about do we mine
Right.
coal, who we gonna sell to. No, you've got clients saying, hey,
I need
export
coal.
this thing, export more, or whatever. So now, to prevent those machines from breaking down, unplanned breakdowns, we put in the sensors that monitor things like your bearings, and then when the bearings start to crack, we pick it up, and then we say, hey, stop this machine, check it out. If you find that the bearing is defected, remove it and replace it. Because if it snaps at very high RPMs, so many other things get damaged with it.
Right,
It's gonna take
right.
you. Now you've got this one part in there. Now you call the OEMs like, give me 4 weeks to get it done. Now your machine is down for 4 weeks, and you can't afford that.
That's 100
Right.
million machine down.
It's a whole section of the mine that is not working. It's way much more that we don't have power if it's cold, you know.
Yeah.
So it's just putting this condition monitoring sensors to measure the health of the equipment and alert the authorities in time. Then we also do online oil condition monitoring. So for oil, we look at oil quality and as well as oil contamination
In the machines.
in the machines. Yeah. So we put permanently installed sensors. So traditionally they'll take oil samples, right? You go there, they take samples, you get results after a week or two. Well, really, in my view, useless results, because, well, you're telling me about an oil condition last week. What if someone poured sand in the oil sump 5 minutes after you left? You're not gonna pick it up. You won't tell me my oil is good.
I just replaced it yesterday.
You know what I mean? So now you've got a sensor that if someone pours sand, it spikes same time. So no, the contamination
Foreign
level is just
something.
something. So oil for machine is like blood for us.
Right.
You take someone's blood to the lab, they can tell you a lot of things, sometimes even scary things to people, right? Way before symptoms could occur, right? So oil circulates inside these machines or inside an engine or gearbox. So if there is, like, let's say metal chips that are filing off, you start to pick those contamination levels up front. So 80% of mechanical breakdowns can be traced back to oil. So you could have picked it up had you monitored the oil on time and filtered it when you were supposed to filter it. So our solutions help them by monitoring, putting a finger on the pulse, the conditions of this equipment, and giving them insights. So if you look at all these things I've been talking about, they have a same theme. We're putting in sensors or equipment to collect data that is accurate without any human involvement. Then we take that data, we analyze it, and we give you insights to help you inform
Your business decisions.
whether it's towards proactive maintenance or predictive maintenance, so that you can save maintenance costs, you can reduce your downtime,
You can scale and schedule.
or it's for government so that you can bill more, you can have more transparency on what's happening in your operations. It's neither here nor there, but whatever the case may be, it's a solution that moves from data collection, analysis and interpretation to reporting, and ultimately informing decision making.
How does a mine get to trust a small business to put a sensor in an equipment that costs hundreds of millions of rands?
Yeah. So the nice thing is this kind of technology is not new.
Okay.
Right? It's been proven. I mean, the kind of sensors we're talking about have been used by nuclear power plants and all of that around the world. So it's technology that has been proven.
Okay.
So let's start there. And then another thing is that mines and other big clients, even OEMs, larger OEMs, they don't like to deal with 10 different suppliers for the same thing, right? So if you could just organize yourself enough to say, look, I'm your one-stop shop guy. Anything condition monitoring, we'll do it for you, right? So we put in the equipment, we do the monitoring, we give them the alerts. The engineers, they just want to know machine X has a problem, go fix it. They don't want to sit down and analyze line by line and get reports every minute in their email and you spam their mailbox. No, they want to just get timely intelligence so that they can make a decision, because it's not their core business.
Right.
So our pitch to them is, look, just hand us this part. It's not your business.
Just do the part you don't like doing.
And then we also collaborated with an OEM of the machine, right? So, for example, when we installed the first machine, it was like because we worked with an OEM and the machine came out for a rebuild. So a rebuild is like maybe after 3 years or 5 years, depending on the work that the machine has done, it goes for a general overhaul where they change everything. And then we put in new equipment, new technology, version 2 now.
Hey.
It goes back. And working with the OEMs make it easier because now they are the authority of those equipment, right? So that helps a lot. I think striking those kind of strategic partnerships in terms of getting adoption. Because look, you can try and get into the mine yourself, right? Maybe you will. But the problem is, you know how mines are structured. Mines are like projects, right? The moment they start a mine today, they already know it's got 30 years of life. You know, these are the suppliers. And then you come in here 13 and you want to be a new supplier. Good luck getting a vendor. It is possible, but it's very
tough.
difficult, right? But if you work with an OEM who supplies to 10 other mines, well, let me fit this on your machine. Can you sell it to 10 of your clients? It's an easier conversation than going to 10 mines individually. So for us, it's just leveraging partnerships. And also, I think one thing that is underrated and not really spoken about, because it's, I don't know why, but relationships.
Right.
It's very important to build relationships.
Brendan,
Maintain those relationships.
are you saying you have friends in mining?
I'm saying build relationships where it matters.
Okay.
Right? So, take yourself out there. Mines guys love going to golf days, this kind of conferences, like your mining in Daba. I mean, we got a partnership with one large OEM, just not at liberty to talk about now, at the mining in Daba. It's a costly exercise. The ticket costs you 50 grand.
Wait, what?
It's worth it.
Ticket for what? To play golf?
No, to just get in and walk around the venue.
You pay 50 grand?
Yeah.
How, Waban?
No, try getting an exhibition stand. It's 2 million.
What? Does the exhibition stand do pitches for you?
I still get press passes, so I'm okay. But,
Yeah, at least
Amen.
these guys with press, they were just
Amen.
shooting. I'm like, no ways,
Can the Angle podcast get access to this event?
Okay, you can
50
try.
grand for a ticket.
Yeah.
yeah, but the scale of industry you're working in, it's an offset cost. It's like you work with it.
But trust me, the opportunities, the relationships that we walk out of there with, or let me just say myself, because I couldn't even take my team there.
I mean,
You know what I mean? It was.
can I carry your bags next time you go?
You still need a ticket. Yeah, but just putting yourself out there
Yeah.
and building the right connections with the right people.
Cool.
I think it's very important. There's a Bible verse that speaks to this, right? It
Okay.
says, it's like the battle doesn't go to the strong or the fastest, or the most intelligent. Don't get wealth. I'm just paraphrasing here.
Cool.
It says, time and chance happens to all of them. Right. So at the end of the day, where you are at what time also does matter a lot. You could have innovation somewhere else and nobody sees it.
Yeah.
Maybe you're speaking over people's heads and they're like, nah, it doesn't work. But you could pitch it to the right person at the right time and they'll be like, what? Let's try it on. And I think also just piloting is important,
Okay.
right? Like, if you want to get solutions out there, it's also good to go to people and say, just try it at small scale, less losses if we fail. But if you do that really, really well, you have an opportunity to scale beyond measure. So I think, that has really worked for us.
And how much AI are you going to employ in the mining? Is it a technology that you guys see in the future that you will employ more? Or are you afraid of it taking more jobs away from the people that are currently working there? I know from the way Bridges, it will take away already 2 jobs, so you're not employing it to check what waste there is in the trucks. But in mining, are there other risks that if you employ too much of it, it will take away people's jobs?
Yeah, so it's all about a balance, in my view, right? If you drink too much water, you'll die. If you don't drink water, you'll die.
This is enough, right?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not a doctor, though.
Yeah, okay, that.
Right. So there's a lot of value that AI and technology in general brings, and will still bring in mining, right? I mean, if you think about machines, right? My background is mechanical engineering, so I don't think. Let's just take a car for example. I think a car will always be somewhat a box with 4 wheels, right? The difference might be this one talks, this one drives itself, this one
Runs off combustion engine, electric.
but it's still really relatively a box with 4 wheels. And one thing for sure, it will need to be maintained. Some things are gonna wear off. They will need to be replaced at some point. It doesn't matter what the car looks like.
Yeah.
So same thing happens to mining equipment, right? So we're gonna keep what the room for growth is more on the software bit of things, on how the machines operate, how efficient they operate. Now it's about, optimizing operations, monitoring things that are not being monitored before. And I think it's quite important because it also improves safety. So on the one hand, you might think it's taking jobs. Not necessarily. Yes, there are things that are automated. You are starting to see smart mines where the whole mine is running on autonomous equipment.
The entire mine.
Yeah, and people are sitting in a control room like this, and they're busy, mining at a mine, like they're
Sitting
playing
in-
games, right? But it also has got improvements because now people are not getting hit as much anymore.
Right. You're not sending as many people
Yeah, you can
underground
send a
as you would.
remote machine to go in a section that could collapse. Do you understand? And but instead of sending a machine driven by a person, which if it collapses, the person is gonna die,
Right.
guaranteed, right? So it's got its own benefits, right? And I think this whole fear of people losing jobs because of automation, I think it will just, those jobs will just be, how can I put it, transferred elsewhere. So let's take an example. You've got a factory full of employees. Then you automate the whole factory, right? Packing, storage, delivery, whatnot. All of those robots that you've put there need to be maintained themselves.
It's true.
They need to be assembled themselves. Do you understand? So that's new jobs, new factories to put in robots in other factories to pack and do what.
So you just got
people
rid
have
of
been
one
replaced,
form of a factory.
but you've now created
Another
jobs that side. I mean, we wouldn't be having podcasts and whatnot back in the day,
course,
It
this would
wasn't
have
a
been-
thing, it wasn't like zero. But
Right.
here we are, you've got maybe newspapers are dying, but you've got digital news coming up. So I think it's just really just transferring, but the risk is will
I stole him
people-
from a newspaper company.
Oh, nonsense.
Yeah. So the trick is, can we get people to reskill,
Yeah.
right skill, quick enough?
Cool. All right. Anything else, man?
Oh, you wrapping up now, are you?
Yeah. I just realized we've been going for a while.
Great chat, man. Nice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great conversations.
Hey,
My
I
coffee's
could go on forever.
Yeah, it's
There's
interesting
quite a
issues,
lot
interesting
to
issues.
learn from your journey and your experiences and the work that you do, both in government and in private. But what I enjoyed mostly about this interview is, from your journey coming up, how you got to your first clients, how you working with government, to how you scaling your company, creating other products, servicing the mines, just gives you an entire book, really. And somebody's watching, there's a lot of lessons you can learn from there. How to start, how to scale, and how to essentially just maintain going further.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much, man, for the insights, and good luck in everything that you're doing.
No, it's a pleasure. And thank you guys for having me. And
Yeah.
I think I had a great conversation as well. And if it could add value to anyone,
Yeah.
of your listeners, I think I'd be very glad, because I also got to where I am by learning from other people's mistakes and just leveraging what they've learned and done to get to where we are. And I think that's how we grow as a collective, So yeah, let's keep doing well by doing good.
Cool. Any parting shots that you'd like any aspiring entrepreneur to know about this journey? Any great insights or learnings around failure, success, that you'd give to yourself 10 years ago?
Okay. So growth is something new all the time, right? So for me, success in a business is going to take a lot of experimentation. Experiments means you have a high chance or a chance to fail. Allow yourself to fail. And I think where success comes from is just doing it over and over and over again until you figure it out, right? Like, just be at it. Relentless. So I think for anybody, some ideas might get to a point where you realize they don't work. Change. Go do something else.
Yeah.
Right? Figure out a different
Yeah.
problem. But I think the most important one is just don't give up. Eventually you make it.
Cool.
Awesome.
Ladies
Nice.
and gentlemen, that has been the Angle Podcast. Thank you to Mr. Brendan Fernandez. He just made it clear, man. Don't be afraid of AI. AI is not going to replace anyone. Rather, people who know how to use AI will replace those that don't know how to use AI. So it's very important for you to skill yourself up. Subscribe, like, share, follow us on all the socials. All the informations will be in the description box below. Thank you very much for watching.
See ya.
Thank you. Yes.